Having been a dad for just around 7 weeks, find out what I have learned and how it may actually help you as well. Coming up. Hey, I'm Sam with Systems of Impact, the place for dads by a new dad. Becoming a new dad has been a massive shift in just everything. And my approach has been more of, I'll learn it as I go. And so as soon as topics would come up, I would go ahead and research them, see what works, and then start testing things out. Carissa was on the other hand of this spectrum, where she wanted to get as much knowledge as humanly possible to then approach every situation of, do I already know what's going on? And if not, then start to apply. So taking more of the learn as you go approach in this particular instance, here are some of the top learnings that I've had so far. The first big learning is DadBot is an actual thing. And I say this because you have lack of sleep, you have lack of focus, you have lack of energy, you don't have the same kind of time that you did before. And so as a result, your potential energy and focus are going in other different directions. And your body typically, from what I have seen so far, is one of the first things to go. And before Celeste was born, I was doing keto paleo switching. I was exercising every day. I had a consistent workout. I had a consistent routine. Everything was relatively fine-tuned at that point. Then Celeste came and everything just completely exploded. From a perspective of, I ended up putting on weight, my body fat percentage ended up increasing, my energy levels dropped. And trying to figure some of that stuff out has been more of a challenge because each day has varied very wildly. So the first thing that I started to do was just to get a starting point. I went ahead and I jumped back on that scale, even though I was kind of afraid to do so, but got an understanding of, here's how much I weigh, here's what my body fat percentage is, here is how I feel today. The next step is get some kind of momentum. And here is where you just go for a walk. And lately I've been doing that a little bit, but just going in the front steps or on the front steps and just sitting in the sun for 15 minutes and just doing something that is going to garner you that kind of momentum, because it's hardest to get moving. So as soon as you can start doing that, then it makes things easier as you start to compound and progress. The second learning that I've come across is that your time is going to be scarce. You're not always going to get to do what you want. And even from a perspective of relationship, you still had that to a varying degree based upon what your partner wanted and what you wanted and having to come to that compromise. But with Celeste and a baby in the picture, that is completely out of the window. So her needs end up coming first. And so what you want to do potentially could be completely blown out of the water. So for me personally, you were looking at time ended up going to, like gaming, for example, only went to potentially at best a couple hours a week. You're also looking at the side hustle stuff of trying to be more efficient with my time to get done what I can in the gaps that I have. Sleep is another, variable at this point. Some days she sleeps relatively well and others it's a grunt fest, and sometimes the earplugs just don't get it done. And so from a perspective of time, it's going to be in very little amounts. So the solution that I've found so far for this is buy back your time as much as you can. Leverage other ways or other people to get some of that time back. So for example, if food is a great example, I can't stand having to food prep. I hate it, personally speaking. Rather than have to sit there and cook and meal prep and try to figure everything out for the particular week, just have a food service. 10 meals get delivered to me every week, and I don't have to think about it. Sometimes Grubhub, it does get kind of pricey depending on what you're doing there, but again, that could potentially be another option. And if you do love meal prepping, then you end up making time for those particular things as you can. Buy back that particular time. Another one, get a nanny. If it's one of those things where you just need a break or you need a babysitter, go ahead and take a couple hours off of, to allow yourself to recharge. Every person has a breaking point, and it's understandable that sometimes you're going to hit it. And to understand that it's okay. It's okay to hit those points. It's okay to push beyond those limits when you need to. It's going to happen. But leverage other things and other people as much as you can to buy back some of that time back, so you don't necessarily hit that wall and slam right into it. Now, I mentioned this one in a previous video, but I just wanted to reiterate it because it's coming more and more apparent. If there are any cracks in your relationship, a child is going to create chasms out of them. Now, what do I mean by that? At some point, you and your partner are going to be extremely tired. and you will inevitably snap at each other. It's going to happen. But the key piece here is, what do you do after that happens? Do you end up getting into a gigantic fight where you end up saying things that you can't take back? Or you take ownership, essentially, of your part of that action? The relationship is going to take the brunt of the shortcomings that are going to be taking place. The stress levels are going to be higher, things are going to be amplified more, and your overall together time is also going to be impacted. So just keep that in mind, that if there is cracks in the relationship, those are things that you need to get addressed. It's paramount. Otherwise, the relationship, ultimately, there's going to be resentment that ends up building up, and things are ultimately going to implode at some point or another. It's just a matter of time. So the solution that I've found for this, come full stop, own your side of the fence. It's going to happen. You're going to snap at each other. There's going to be moments of tension, but deal with those moments of tension. Lean into those moments. It's going to be difficult, but you need to do it and you need to own it. Also realize that there is no bad guy in these scenarios. It's just two people trying to do their best in the circumstances and the situation that they're in. The key is going to be communication and how you communicate with your partner to move past this thing and make sure that it gets resolved. Lastly, make time for each other and do it in a way that their love language is being administered to. If you don't understand love languages, I would suggest getting in touch with or searching Gottman Institute. They get into this very heavily, but love languages are one of those things to where if you understand how your partner wants to be and likes to be loved, then it can be a lot easier when you have some of that quality time with them of actually caring for them in the way that matters most to them. Now, if you're finding value in today's video, make sure to hit that like button and share it with somebody that you feel that could benefit from these same learnings. Number 3, I think. We'll go with 3. A completely new normal, not gonna happen anytime soon. As a new dad, this has come to, punch me in the face numerous times. One day you think you have things figured out, the next day you just got punched in the face, literally, by your child. Days are gonna just wildly. They're gonna be all over the place. Sleep is probably gonna be the most common factor here, because some nights they're gonna sleep great, and other nights you're not gonna get any sleep at all. The key here is schedule as much as you can. Try to adhere to it as much as you can. It's never going to go to plan, and that's okay. That's where getting punched in the face ends up taking place, but you got to give yourself grace. It's going to be a challenge. Every moment is not going to be easy. There are times where Celeste is just screaming bloody murder, and you're like, oh my God, this is the worst sound ever. And it's hard to sometimes just take it, but you have to. And you have to keep moving forward, and you have to keep doing the things that need to get done. You just got to give yourself grace. You're not going to get it right all the time. You're going to screw up. There's things that are not going to go to plan. And that's okay. Ultimately, can you learn from what is actually taking place? And then how can you apply it as you continue to move forward? That is the key to being adaptable, especially as a parent, because there's going to be events that are going to happen that I just won't know how to deal with. And I'll have to learn how to adapt to be able to approach those particular circumstances or situations and be able to come out on the other side and potentially come out better for it, for all parties involved. And lastly, you're not only going to be consoling your baby, you're also going to be consoling your partner. I say that because not just your baby is going to need help, your partner is also going to need a lot of help. With Carissa, she is sometimes having moments where, something isn't going right, or she's worrying about something, or something's challenging, or, whatever the case ends up being. You also need to be there for them. You need to be able to support them. They're going through the same kind of challenges that you potentially are, but they're having a baby on top of that. So you're looking at those two are going through their challenges, and then you're needing to try to support them as much as humanly possible. This is something that can, again, be challenging, but do it from a place of not having an ego. It's not about you. And I know that can be very difficult to potentially grasp, but it's not about you. Take your ego out of the situation and do what is necessary for them. It's like Nike says, just do it. And sometimes it's not going to be fun. Sometimes it's gonna suck. It's not gonna be the best thing ever. But that's okay. Again, take some grace, take your ego out of it, go ahead and approach the situation and just get things done. Now I wanna hear from you new dads out there. What were some of the things that surprised you by becoming a dad? Things that you potentially didn't expect, and how did you overcome them? Go ahead and leave those in the comments below. Thanks for taking some time to go through this list. If there's anything that you have questions on, make sure to leave those in the comments below, and make sure to stay tuned to future videos.